Good evening, dear one, wherever you are in this wide and tender world, perhaps in a quiet room or beneath the gentle hum of night. I welcome you. I'm Tara, and tonight we walk together into stillness. Before we begin, take a slow, easy breath. Feel the air move through you, cool as it enters, warm as it leaves. Let your body soften with the exhale. Tell me if it feels right. Where are you listening from tonight? A city that never sleeps, or a small town wrapped in silence? Somewhere near the sea, or under the mountain sky? Wherever you are, know this. The very same breath that moves through you now once moved through monks meditating beneath the Bodhi tree, through seekers sitting at dawn beside rivers, through every human heart that has ever longed to be free from pain. What we begin tonight is not a lecture, but a return, a quiet remembering of what the Buddha discovered 2,500 years ago. That healing does not come from running away from pain, but from sitting with it gently, like a friend. There is an ancient tenderness hidden beneath the noise of the world, and when we learn to listen, it speaks softly, not with words, but with understanding. So tonight, let your room become a temple. Let your bed become the earth beneath the Bodhi tree. Let your breath be your prayer. The Buddha once said, "Just as a candle cannot burn without fire, man cannot live without a spiritual life." To live spiritually does not mean to escape life. It means to live awake within it, to feel sorrow without drowning in it, to hold loneliness without fearing it, and to recognize that every ache, every emptiness, every tear is a doorway to understanding. Right now, perhaps, you carry heaviness in your heart, a silence that feels too deep, a question that never leaves. But listen carefully. Loneliness has its own kind of wisdom. It arrives not to harm you, but to remind you of your connection to everything. When you are alone, you are closest to the truth that you belong to the entire universe. The stars do not rush toward each other to feel less alone. They shine from where they are, and still, together, they light the sky. Close your eyes. Take a slow breath in and out. Let the body settle, like a leaf floating down onto calm water. There's nothing to do now, nowhere to go. All that is asked of you is presence. Quiet, patient, simple presence. You might notice thoughts drifting in, whispers of the day that still cling to your mind, conversations, regrets, worries, memories. Don't push them away. They are only clouds in the vast sky of your awareness. Each time one passes, return to your breath. Return to this gentle moment, this small island of calm that has always been waiting for you. In Buddhist teaching, the first step toward healing is not to fix, but to see clearly and without judgment, to see the pain, the loneliness, the confusion, and to understand that these are not flaws. They are visitors. They come and go. Your true nature, like the sky, remains untouched beneath it all. There's a simple story told in old monasteries. A young monk, troubled by sadness, once went to his teacher and asked, "Master, why is my mind always restless? Why do I feel lost even when I am surrounded by peace?" The master smiled and handed him a bowl of water. "Hold it still," he said. The monk tried, but his hands trembled. The water rippled endlessly. "Now," said the master, "set it down." The monk placed it on the ground, and soon the ripples faded. The water reflected the moon, calm and clear. "This," the master said softly, "is your mind when you stop trying to control it." That story is our invitation tonight, to set down the bowl, to let the ripples fade, to allow life to reflect the light that is already there. Every breath you take is a gentle act of returning to yourself, to the calm within the chaos, to the truth that has always been waiting under the noise. Now imagine this. You are standing at the edge of a vast lake under a night sky. The water is still. The air is cool. Each star above reflects upon the surface, thousands of tiny lights shimmering upon the darkness. This is your mind when it rests. The stars are your thoughts, your memories, your hopes. But the lake, the deep, quiet lake, is your awareness. It does not chase the stars. It only holds them in gentle reflection. Take another slow breath in. Let it go, like a sigh of the universe. Feel your chest rise and fall, the rhythm of your life itself. And as you do, whisper quietly within, "I am safe, I am here, I am ready to listen." Tonight, you and I begin a journey, not away from suffering, but through it. Because healing is not escape, it is awakening. And somewhere deep within you, the same light that once shone under the Bodhi tree still waits. Steady, unwavering, endlessly patient. You have carried it through every storm, every heartbreak, every silent night when you thought you couldn't go on. It never left. It simply waited for you to notice. So rest now. Let the quiet of this night hold you gently. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are becoming. And as your breath deepens and your body loosens into the cradle of sleep, remember, this is not an ending. It is the quiet beginning of your healing. Pain has a way of visiting us quietly at first. A small ache in the heart, a whisper in the chest, a sudden stillness between breaths. And then, when we don't listen, it grows louder. It asks again and again, "Will you see me now?" If you are here tonight, it means you've heard that whisper. You felt that ache. And perhaps, for the first time in a long while, you are ready to listen. In the old texts, it is said that when the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree, he did not seek enlightenment in the heavens or in grand miracles. He simply sat with his pain. He watched his fears, his memories, his longings, everything that had ever hurt him, rise and pass before his awareness. And instead of running, he breathed. That was his first act of awakening, not escape, but presence. He discovered something revolutionary, something so simple, yet so forgotten. Pain is not punishment. Pain is information. When your body burns with fever, it isn't trying to harm you. It is signaling, showing that your system is working, cleansing, rebalancing. In the same way, emotional pain is your spirit's fever. It is your inner system's way of saying, something here is asking for light. But most of us have been taught to fear pain, to numb it, to distract ourselves, to outrun it. We call it failure, weakness, even illness, when all it ever wanted was to be understood. Close your eyes for a moment. Place your hand gently on your heart. Feel that pulse beneath your palm. That rhythm is the same one that beats within every living being, the deer resting under trees, the monk breathing in the Himalayas, the child laughing by the sea. Each heartbeat is a reminder that you are part of something vast, alive, and sacred. Now ask silently within, what is this pain trying to teach me? Do not force an answer. Simply hold the question like a small candle in the dark. Let its light reveal what needs to be seen, slowly, gently. There's an old story told in the monasteries about a man who came to the Buddha, weeping. His wife had died, and his world had turned to ashes. Please, he begged, bring her back. The Buddha looked at him kindly and said, go to the village and bring me a mustard seed from a house that has never known sorrow. The man went door to door, but in every home he found stories of loss, a father gone, a child sick, a heart broken. By the time he returned, his grief had softened. He no longer asked for his wife back. He asked instead for understanding. That was the beginning of his healing. The Buddha called this the first noble truth. Life contains suffering, but he didn't say this to make us hopeless. He said it so we would stop being shocked when pain arrives. So that instead of saying, why me, we might whisper, ah, here is my lesson. When we stop taking pain personally, it becomes a teacher instead of a tormentor. It shows us where we've been clinging, where we've been pretending, where we've forgotten who we truly are. Sometimes loneliness teaches us to stop abandoning ourselves. Sometimes heartbreak shows us that love cannot be confined to one person. Sometimes failure reminds us that our worth was never tied to success. Each wound is a doorway, narrow, yes, but sacred. You pass through it not by pushing, but by surrendering. Think of how the body heals a cut. It doesn't shout or panic. It doesn't rush. It simply sends its quiet messengers, white blood cells, new tissue, unseen intelligence, working tirelessly beneath the surface. Your spirit works the same way. When you stop resisting your pain, when you stop calling it wrong, it begins to heal itself. Pain transforms in the light of attention. It dissolves in the warmth of compassion. It does not need to be solved, only seen. Take another breath. Inhale gently through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Imagine that each exhale carries away a layer of resistance, the need to understand, the urge to fix. You are not broken. You are becoming whole. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, pain is certain. Suffering is optional. What he meant is this: pain is the raw experience, the physical, emotional wave that comes and goes. Suffering is the story we tell about it, the belief that it shouldn't be there, that it means something is wrong with us. But what if you stopped telling the story? What if you let the feeling be just a feeling, a visitor passing through your inner sky? Right now, in this moment, your pain is already changing. It cannot stay the same because you are no longer resisting it. Every breath is rewriting its shape, softening its edges. If you listen closely, you might even feel a small peace arising underneath. Quiet, patient, like dawn touching the edges of night. The Buddha once said that suffering is the great teacher, and those who meet it with awareness become the most compassionate beings of all. Because when you've touched your own darkness, you begin to understand the suffering of others. You no longer judge, you simply hold space, and that too is healing. So tonight, as you rest, let this be your practice. Do not run from your pain. Do not name it your enemy. Sit beside it, hand over heart, and whisper, "Teach me what you came to show." Stay with that, because the moment you stop fighting your pain is the moment it begins to transform into wisdom. And that wisdom, dear one, is the beginning of true freedom. There comes a moment in every journey when pain stops being a visitor and begins to reveal itself as a teacher. Suffering, though sharp and unwanted, is never empty. It arrives with lessons that only silence can translate. When the Buddha spoke of the Four Noble Truths, he was not offering a doctrine. He was describing a discovery made through experience. He looked into the eyes of suffering, not as an enemy, but as a wise elder whispering, "There is a reason I am here." To most of us, suffering feels like a mistake, as though life has gone wrong, or that we've been abandoned by grace. But the Buddha saw something different. Suffering is the invitation to wake up. It cracks the walls we build around our hearts. It breaks the masks we wear for love. It asks, will you live half asleep, or will you awaken fully? In ancient Buddhist stories, there is one about a monk who complained daily about the hardships of his path. He found the weather too harsh, his robe too thin, his bowl too empty. One day, his teacher handed him a stone and said, "Carry this until you understand why I gave it to you." Days passed, and the monk grew weary. Finally, he threw the stone down and cried, "It's too heavy." The teacher smiled and said, "Yes, and so is your suffering when you keep holding what you could put down. Suffering often stays longer than it should because we keep clutching it, thinking it defines us. We mistake pain for identity. But you are not your pain. You are the awareness that notices it. You are not the storm. You are the vast sky in which it moves. Pause for a moment. Feel the truth of that. Even now, beneath whatever ache or fear you carry, there is a part of you that has remained untouched. Call it the witness, the soul, the still point. It has watched every sorrow and every joy come and go, and yet it endures. It is your original self, before the world taught you how to suffer. Take a slow breath in. Let it move down to your belly. Exhale softly. Now imagine your suffering as a small child sitting beside you, tired, scared, misunderstood. Instead of pushing it away, what if you held it? What if you whispered, "You don't need to protect me anymore"? This act of turning toward your pain with compassion is the essence of Buddhist healing. You don't transcend suffering by climbing above it. You transform it by embracing it. Suffering, once seen clearly, loses its power to wound. It becomes wisdom in motion. The Buddha called this transformation dukkha nirodha, the cessation of suffering. It doesn't mean pain disappears. It means you stop being consumed by it. The fire of suffering turns into the light of awareness. In one of the sutras, a disciple asked, "Master, how do I know when my suffering has ended?" The Buddha replied, "When compassion for others begins, because compassion is born the moment you realize that pain is not yours alone. It is the shared fabric of being human. Your suffering becomes the bridge that connects you to every other heart that has ever broken. Right now, as you listen, imagine millions of people lying awake across the world. Some are grieving, some are afraid, some are lonely just like you. Breathe in for all of them. Breathe out peace for all of them. This is the ancient practice of metta, loving kindness. Each breath becomes a prayer. May I be free from suffering. May all beings be free from suffering. When you breathe this way, you are no longer just healing yourself. You are becoming a channel of healing for the whole world. Now, allow this awareness to deepen. Suffering begins to lose its sharpness when we stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is this showing me?" Perhaps your loneliness is showing you where connection must begin, within. Perhaps your depression is teaching you the rhythm of rest, reminding you that even winter holds purpose. Perhaps your fear is guiding you toward courage that doesn't shout, but quietly endures. Every emotion, every ache, every tear carries a teaching. And the moment you recognize that even for a breath, your relationship with suffering changes. It stops being a wall and becomes a window. In that opening, something beautiful happens. You begin to see that nothing was ever wasted. The heartbreak that once shattered you became the soil for empathy. The solitude that once scared you became the silence in which you could finally hear your soul. The loss that once emptied you made room for light to enter. There's a verse in the Dhammapada that says, "As rain breaks through an ill-thatched house, so passion breaks through an unreflecting mind. But as rain cannot enter a well-thatched house, so passion cannot enter a well-reflecting mind. Reflection is your thatch. Awareness is your shelter. When you meet suffering with understanding, you become untouchable in spirit. So tonight, before you drift into rest, try this gentle meditation. Breathe in and silently say, I see my suffering. Breathe out and whisper, I am learning from it. Repeat slowly, tenderly, as if each word were a balm on your heart. With every breath, your suffering transforms, not by will, but by awareness. Because the truth is, dear one, your pain has never been against you. It has always been your most devoted teacher, asking only that you finally listen. And when you do, the lesson it carries becomes light, a quiet light that guides you gently toward peace. If you could step outside your thoughts for a moment and look up, what would you see? A vast, endless sky, always present, always patient, always open. Sometimes it is bright and clear, sometimes heavy with clouds. Sometimes it rages with thunder, and sometimes it glows with the stillness of dawn. But the sky itself never changes. Your mind, too, is like that sky. Your emotions, the sadness, the loneliness, the moments of joy and despair, are only the weather. They come and go. They form and dissolve. They pass through, but they do not define the sky. Tonight, I invite you to remember this simple truth. You are not your emotions. You are the awareness in which emotions arise and fade. The storm cannot harm the sky, and your pain cannot harm the essence of who you truly are. Take a slow, deep breath in. Hold it for a moment and exhale gently, letting your body soften like sand after a wave recedes. Let this rhythm of breath remind you that even within the storm, something steady remains. When the Buddha taught Anika the principle of impermanence, he offered liberation. He said that everything that arises will also pass away. Every emotion, every thought, every situation is temporary by its very nature. But our suffering deepens when we forget this. We believe the storm will last forever. We mistake the weather for the sky. When depression settles like fog, it tells you it will never lift. When anxiety grips you, it whispers that you will always be afraid. When loneliness lingers, it says that you are forgotten. But all of this, dear one, is illusion. The clouds do not own the sky, and your emotions do not own you. Right now, wherever you are, imagine yourself beneath an open sky. Feel the air against your skin, cool, light, moving gently. Above you, the vastness stretches beyond sight, boundless and eternal. This is your true nature, the calm beyond all storms. Now imagine your emotions as clouds. Some are small and white, moments of peace, contentment. Others are dark and heavy, sorrow, confusion, loss. But watch them. See how even the darkest cloud drifts, how it cannot stay. It moves because the nature of all things is change. Breathe in, and as you exhale, whisper inwardly, "This too shall pass." Feel how these words soften your chest, how they open a space within you where peace can breathe. There's an old story told in the Theravada monasteries of Sri Lanka. A monk once asked his master how to endure his recurring sadness. The master pointed to the horizon and said, "Do you see that cloud?" The monk nodded. "Watch it. They sat in silence as the wind slowly pushed the cloud apart. Minutes later, it had vanished into the blue. The master smiled. You did not need to fight the cloud. You only needed to see that it was never meant to stay. Such is the nature of your pain. When you resist it, it thickens. When you allow it, it begins to move. It has never wanted to stay, only to be acknowledged. Now let us rest in awareness together. Find your breath again. Slow, steady, natural. Each inhale, a wave rising. Each exhale, a wave dissolving. If you are sad, notice it, like a dark cloud passing across the sky. If you are restless, watch it swirl, knowing it too will pass. If you feel nothing at all, that too is just weather, a quiet mist upon the inner horizon. You are the sky that holds it all, vast enough for every season of the heart. The Buddha once said, "All conditioned things are impermanent." When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. When you see clearly that everything changes, you stop grasping for what must move and stop fearing what must come. This is freedom not from life, but within it. Take another gentle breath. Now let your awareness rest at the center of your being, the quiet space behind all thoughts. It is the space that existed before your first memory and will remain after your last. It is vast, luminous, untouched. As you rest here, imagine your mind like a wide blue sky after the storm. The sunlight is warm, and a soft wind moves through your being. You can still see the memory of clouds on the horizon, but they no longer worry you. They belong to the weather, not to you. From this space of stillness, repeat inwardly, "I am the sky. The clouds pass, but I remain." Stay with this truth. Let it echo gently inside you, like a mantra carried by the wind. Each repetition draws you deeper into peace. Now, let this practice become a way of being. When anxiety visits, breathe with it. Do not chase it away. When loneliness sits beside you, offer it compassion. Do not call it a flaw. When grief rises, bow to it as an old teacher, knowing it too will leave when its teaching is done. Your emotions are not against you. They are movements of weather across the infinite sky of your awareness. And even when clouds gather thick and the rain falls hard, remember, the sky never disappears. It only waits quietly for the wind to clear. As you lie here tonight, know this: peace is not the absence of storms. It is remembering the sky while the rain still falls. So breathe, be still, and let the knowing settle deep. You are the sky. You have always been the sky. When the world grows too loud, silence becomes a sanctuary. But silence is not just the absence of sound. It is the presence of awareness. It is the sacred stillness that exists beneath every thought, behind every breath, within every pause. Most of us spend our days running from pain, from uncertainty, from the quiet itself. We fill every gap with words, screens, and noise, afraid of what we might hear if everything stopped. But the Buddha discovered that in the space where everything stops, something extraordinary begins. Healing is not movement. It is stillness returning to itself. There's a story told in a small monastery in Myanmar. A young monk once sat in meditation for hours, wrestling with restlessness. When his teacher approached, the boy opened his eyes in frustration. "Master," he sighed, "my thoughts will not stop. I try to silence them, but they grow louder." The teacher smiled and pointed to a still pond nearby. "Do you see your reflection?" The monk nodded. "Now," said the teacher, "throw a pebble." The boy did, and ripples distorted the reflection. "Wait," said the master. After a few minutes, the ripples faded. The reflection returned clear and whole. "Do you see?" said the teacher softly. The pond did not need to force stillness. It simply stopped disturbing itself. This is the essence of natural healing. You do not need to chase peace. You only need to stop disturbing your own mind. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the weight of your body resting upon the earth. Calm, supported, safe. Let your breath settle into its own rhythm. You are not trying to make anything happen. You are allowing everything to be as it is. Now, imagine that within your heart, there is a small flame. It flickers softly, steady and warm. It has been there since before you were born, the flame of awareness, the quiet witness. When storms come, the flame may bend, but it never goes out. Your task is not to protect it, but to remember it. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha taught that awareness of breath and body is the foundation of liberation. When you observe the breath without judgment, you begin to see that the body and mind are not enemies. They are allies in awakening. Each breath grounds you in the truth of the present moment, the only place where healing truly exists. So breathe in slow, full, gentle, and as you exhale, whisper inwardly, "I release." Release the day. Release the future. Release the need to control what has already chosen its time. Now, rest in the stillness that follows. Notice how the mind begins to settle, like dust floating down in a sunbeam. The more you rest, the more life begins to rearrange itself quietly around your peace. Stillness does not mean passivity. It is the birthplace of clarity. When the noise subsides, you begin to see what truly matters, what to hold, what to let go. The Buddha once said, "When the mind is still, the truth reveals itself naturally." Truth does not shout, it whispers. It cannot be found in chaos, only in quiet listening. There is an old Zen parable about a student who asked, "Master, what is enlightenment?" The master replied, "When you stop stirring the water, it becomes clear enough to reflect the moon. When you stop stirring your inner waters with worry, with regret, with comparison, life begins to reflect your true nature. Peace. Peace is not something you create. It is what remains when all that is false dissolves. Take another breath. Let your shoulders drop. Let your hands unclench. Feel the rhythm of your own aliveness, the pulse the rise and fall of the chest. Each beat says, "I am here." Now, allow stillness to grow wider inside you, like a lake expanding in all directions, like the pause between two waves. Stillness is not fragile. It is powerful, vast, eternal. From this stillness, healing arises naturally, because when you stop running, your body begins to listen, your mind begins to soften, your spirit begins to align with its original rhythm. Remember, nature heals through rest. The seed does not grow because it tries. It grows because it rests in the dark soil until it's time to bloom. You too are in that same cycle. Your stillness is not stagnation. It is gestation. Something sacred is forming in your quiet. Let this truth settle into you like rain soaking into dry earth. You do not need to fix yourself to heal. You only need to become quiet enough to let the healing happen. Now, let us end this story with a short meditation. Bring your awareness to your breath. Inhale, feel the air enter through your nose, cool and light. Exhale, feel it leave through your lips, soft and warm. Breathe like this 3 more times. With each breath, say silently to yourself, "I am still. I am safe. I am whole." Notice how the mind slows down, how the breath deepens, how even the smallest movements feel sacred now. This is not a trick or a technique. It is your natural state, rediscovered. Stay here for a while. Let stillness wrap around you like the night, gentle, vast, healing. Because in the deepest quiet, the heart remembers what the mind forgets. You were never broken. You were only waiting to be still enough to remember your wholeness. Once long ago, in a quiet village surrounded by mountains and rice fields, there lived a humble farmer. He owned a single horse, strong, patient, loyal, his most precious companion. One morning, the horse ran away. The neighbors came to console him. "How terrible," they said. "You must be heartbroken." The farmer simply nodded and whispered, "Maybe so, maybe not." Days later, the horse returned, bringing with it 3 wild horses from the mountains. The villagers rejoiced. "How wonderful," they exclaimed. The farmer smiled softly. "Maybe so, maybe not." The next week, his son tried to ride one of the wild horses, was thrown off, and broke his leg. Again, the villagers came. "How tragic," they said. The farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not." Soon after, soldiers came to the village, drafting all able-bodied young men for war. The farmer's son, with his broken leg, was spared. The neighbors returned and said, "How lucky you are." Once again, he said, "Maybe so, maybe not." And with that, he returned to his fields, quietly working, quietly watching life unfold. This old story is more than a tale. It is a mirror of our own lives. We call things good or bad, but the truth is, we do not see the full picture. Life is too vast to be judged in fragments. Each event is part of a larger unfolding, a weaving we can only understand when we stop naming every thread. The Buddha taught this through the law of dependent origination. every moment is connected, and every effect is born from countless unseen causes. What we call tragedy today may be the seed of awakening tomorrow. What feels like loss may be quiet preparation for something deeper. If you reflect on your own life, you'll see this truth. A disappointment that once broke you may have led you to compassion. A failure that once felt final may have redirected your path toward meaning. The people who left created space for the person you were meant to become. The mind, in its hurry, wants closure. It wants to label, to control, to define. But the heart, when quiet, understands that life needs no labels. It unfolds like a river, sometimes calm, sometimes fierce, yet always flowing toward the ocean of truth. Close your eyes for a moment. Think of something that once felt unbearable. A loss, a change, a silence that seemed endless. Now notice where that experience led you, who you became because of it. Did it soften you? Did it make you more patient, more awake, more alive? If so, then pain did not defeat you. It transformed you. The Zen masters often say, "Let life be as it is." This is not resignation. It is wisdom. It is the understanding that resistance multiplies suffering, while acceptance reveals meaning. Acceptance is not passivity. It is clarity. It is the still point from which wise action can arise. When the storm comes, you don't curse the wind, you adjust your sails. When sorrow visits, you don't deny it, you sit beside it and listen. There's a saying in the Dhammapada, whatever harm an enemy may do to an enemy, or hater to a hater, a wrongly directed mind can do greater harm to oneself. When you resist life, when you argue with what is, you harm yourself more than the situation ever could. But when you trust the flow, when you meet each moment with maybe so, maybe not, you step into freedom. So let us practice that tonight. Bring to mind a situation you are struggling to accept, something unresolved, uncertain, perhaps painful. Now breathe in deeply. As you exhale, whisper softly, maybe so, maybe not. Let the phrase settle in your heart. Notice how it loosens the tightness of control. Notice how it opens space where peace can enter. Every maybe is an act of surrender, a small bow to the mystery of existence. It does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You allow life to teach you what it needs to, in its own rhythm. In the story of the farmer, wisdom was not in knowing outcomes. It was in trusting the unfolding. You too are invited into that trust. Every change, every twist of fate is the Dharma expressing itself, the great teaching of impermanence in motion. When you accept what comes, even before you understand it, suffering loses its grip. The heart becomes light. The mind becomes still. And in that stillness, the hidden pattern of your life begins to reveal itself. Perhaps years from now, you'll look back on this very moment and realize that even your pain had perfect timing, that what left was never meant to stay, and what stayed was exactly what your soul needed to grow. So tonight, as you breathe, let this wisdom cradle you. You do not have to know where life is taking you. You only have to trust that every turn, every loss, every gift, every silence is leading you home. Repeat quietly with your breath. I trust the unfolding. Maybe so, maybe not. Let the words dissolve into silence. And in that silence, notice how peace begins to bloom, not from answers, but from trust. Because healing is not the end of change. It is the art of resting inside it. Loneliness is often seen as an emptiness, a void to escape, a shadow to be filled with noise. But what if loneliness isn't a curse? What if it is a gate that opens not outward toward others first, but inward toward yourself? In the quiet of solitude, something sacred stirs. It is the longing of your soul to remember its connection, not just to people, but to existence itself. The Buddha called this samvega, the stirring of the heart, the moment you realize that worldly distractions can no longer soothe the ache within. It is the soul's awakening cry. There's a small story told about a monk who lived alone in the forest for many years. One day, a traveler found him sitting by a stream, perfectly still. The traveler asked, "Don't you ever feel lonely?" The monk smiled gently and said, "Lonely from what?" He picked up a pebble and dropped it into the stream. Each ripple is separate, yet part of the same water. So are we. Loneliness, when approached with awareness, reveals unity beneath separation. When you stop fighting it, when you sit quietly within it, you begin to sense that your loneliness is not isolation, but sensitivity. You are feeling the space between yourself and everything else, not because you are cut off, but because you are deeply connected. Close your eyes, take a slow breath in, and let it out with a soft sigh. Now feel your heart, not the physical beating, but the energy behind it. A gentle vibration, subtle yet undeniable. This pulse connects you to all living things. It is the same rhythm that moves through every being. The bird resting on a tree branch, the child sleeping beside her mother, the monk in meditation, and the stars circling above. The Buddha said, "Consider all beings as your own self. Consider the happiness of others as your own." When you understand this, you see that loneliness is not the absence of people. It is the absence of presence. Presence is connection. Presence is love. Sometimes, loneliness arises to remind you that you have abandoned your own company. You have forgotten to sit with yourself as you would with a beloved friend. So tonight, let us return to that friendship. Bring your hand gently to your heart. Inhale, whisper silently, "I am here." Exhale, whisper, "And that is enough." Let these words move through you like a warm breeze. Each breath is a gentle homecoming. Loneliness loses its sting when it meets compassion. When you stop judging it, it softens. It becomes a mirror, reflecting the tenderness you've longed to receive from others. And in that reflection, you begin to see the truth that you were never truly alone. Imagine your loneliness as a small child sitting beside you in the dark. You don't scold the child. You don't tell it to go away. You place a hand on its shoulder and say, "I'm here now." That simple act of inner kindness transforms loneliness into peace. In Buddhist practice, this transformation is known as karuna, compassion, not just for others, but for oneself. Compassion is not pity. It is understanding born from shared humanity. When you hold your loneliness gently, you awaken the same compassion that the Buddha discovered under the Bodhi tree. A compassion so vast that it embraces all beings. Now take another slow breath. Imagine a soft light growing from your heart, warm and golden. With each breath, it expands, filling your chest, your body, the space around you. This is not imagination. This is awareness becoming love. With every inhale, whisper within, "May I feel peace." With every exhale, whisper, "May all beings feel peace." You are now practicing metta bhavana, the meditation of loving kindness. It is said that when the heart truly opens in this way, loneliness dissolves into compassion as naturally as ice melts into water. Because the truth is, you are not separate from anyone or anything. You are part of the same consciousness flowing through all that lives. Loneliness comes to remind you of this truth, that love is your nature. You do not have to seek it. You only have to uncover it. As you rest here, feel the warmth of your breath, the stillness around you, the heartbeat within you. All of it is life speaking, quietly, intimately, endlessly. You are connected to the wind that moves through the trees. You are connected to the moon reflecting over oceans you will never see. You are connected to every being that has ever whispered a prayer for peace. So the next time loneliness visits, bow to it. It is not your enemy. It is your guide. It is showing you the way back to the place you forgot. The sacred space of belonging that has always lived within your own heart. Repeat softly to yourself before you drift into sleep. I am connected. I am held. I am part of all things. Let these words echo in your breath until they dissolve into silence. And in that silence, let loneliness open into something vast. A quiet, luminous presence that holds you, just as the sky holds every star. Letting go two words that sound simple, yet carry the weight of lifetimes. We are taught to hold on to people, to memories, to expectations, to the stories that shape who we think we are. But the Buddha gently reminded us that everything we cling to, we eventually lose. Not because life is cruel, but because impermanence is love in disguise. It releases us from what no longer serves our becoming. If holding on is an instinct of the mind, letting go is the intelligence of the heart. The heart understands what the mind fears, that in releasing, we make room for new life. There is a story told in the forests of Thailand about a monk who carried a small bowl of water through the monastery each morning. One day, his teacher asked, "Why do you hold it so tightly?" The monk replied, "So I don't spill it." The master smiled and said, "And in your effort not to spill it, you have stopped walking freely." When we grip life too tightly, we stop flowing with it. We become afraid to lose, afraid to fail, afraid to be without. But loss is not the opposite of life. It is its rhythm. The tree sheds its leaves, not because it despises them, but because it trusts the spring will come again. The river does not cling to the mountain. It moves because that is its nature. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, imagine yourself releasing something you've been holding onto. Perhaps a name, a moment, a regret, or a version of yourself that no longer feels true. Let it drift away, like a leaf carried by the current. You do not need to force it. Letting go is not an act of pushing. It is an act of allowing. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, "From attachment springs grief. From attachment springs fear." For one who is wholly free from attachment, there is no grief, whence fear. To release attachment is not to stop caring. It is to care without clinging, to love without possession, to experience without demanding permanence. Imagine standing by the ocean. Each wave arrives, touches your feet, and retreats. You do not mourn the wave that leaves. You know another will come. So it is with every joy, every sorrow, every encounter in life. They come, they touch you, they teach you, they move on. And if you are still enough, you will notice the sea never stops being full. Letting go is not forgetting. It is remembering differently, with peace instead of pain. It is looking at what once hurt and seeing not loss, but growth. It is saying, "Thank you for what you gave me. You can rest now." Take another slow breath. Feel the rise and fall of your chest. Let the exhale carry away the heaviness of expectation. Each breath teaches impermanence. Inhale, creation. Exhale, release. The universe itself breathes this way. There's an ancient parable about two monks walking by a river. They saw a woman struggling to cross, and one monk lifted her onto his shoulders, carrying her across before setting her down. Hours later, as they walked in silence, the younger monk said, "Brother, why did you carry that woman? We are monks. We do not touch women." The elder monk smiled. "I set her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her? We carry so much long after it has passed. We replay words spoken years ago. We relive moments that no longer exist. But the past does not ask to be carried, only understood. Now, gently bring to mind something you've been unable to release. A person, perhaps, or a dream that didn't come to pass. See it before you with kindness. Breathe in deeply and say silently, "I honor you." Breathe out softly and say, "I release you." Feel the space it leaves behind, vast, quiet, almost unfamiliar. That is not emptiness. That is freedom. Freedom feels strange at first because we mistake attachment for identity. But But identity, too, must evolve. Just as the seed must break to become the tree, the Buddha taught upekkha, equanimity, the balance born from deep letting go. It is the ability to be in the midst of life's tides without drowning in them, to watch joy and sorrow rise and fall like the breath, neither grasping nor rejecting, only witnessing. Equanimity is not detachment from life. It is intimacy without fear. Now imagine your heart as a lotus flower on a still pond. With each exhale, one petal opens soft, luminous, peaceful. The water below reflects the sky above, tranquil, endless. This is the natural state of a heart that has learned to let go. It does not close when seasons change. It opens wider. In the end, letting go is not losing. It is returning to yourself, to the simplicity of being, to the quiet rhythm of now. Repeat softly within, like a mantra. I let go with love. I let go with trust. I let go and I am free. Let the words float on your breath until they dissolve into silence. Because in that silence, you discover what was true all along. You were never holding the world. The world was always holding you. There is a reason the lotus is the symbol of awakening in Buddhism. It blooms in the very place where beauty seems impossible, the mud. Thick, dark, silent mud. Yet from that depth, it rises, untouched by the dirt that nourishes it, pure in its unfolding. So it is with the human soul. From the murk of sorrow, from the weight of depression, from the nights when all light seems lost, awakening begins, not in spite of the darkness, but because of it. The Buddha did not promise a life without pain. He promised that through understanding pain, we could become free of its chains. Depression, though heavy, is not the end of your story. It is the soil preparing the roots of wisdom. It is the dark womb of transformation. When the heart grows tired of pretending, when the mind no longer finds comfort in distraction, a deeper intelligence begins to awaken. It asks not, how do I escape? But what is this showing me? That question, whispered in the quiet of despair, is the first crack through which light enters. In the Udana Sutta, the Buddha said, there is, monks, an unborn, unbecome, unmade, unconditioned. Were there not this unborn, there would be no escape from the born and the conditioned. Even in your lowest moments, there is something within you that remains untouched, the unconditioned awareness, the silent witness. It is the same awareness that once watched the Buddha under the Bodhi tree, patient, still, infinite. Close your eyes now. Imagine yourself deep beneath the surface of a calm lake. The world above is distant. Light filters down softly, muted and blue. At first, all you can feel is weight, pressure, silence, stillness. But stay there. Breathe there. Notice something subtle. Even in the depths, the water is holding you. You are not drowning. You are floating in a sacred stillness. This is the heart of healing. Depression tells you that you are sinking. But in truth, You are being invited to descend into honesty, to meet yourself without masks. You are learning to sit with what you've been avoiding, to hold your sadness without turning away. And in that brave stillness, the roots of your lotus are forming. There is a Zen saying, "The obstacle is the path. Your pain is not the wall, it is the door. When you turn toward it, it transforms." In many monasteries, when a student feels lost or depressed, the teacher doesn't rush to fix them. Instead, they are told, "Go sit by the river. Watch the water." Because rivers understand something most humans forget. That movement does not mean escape. It means surrender. The water never resists the rocks in its path. It flows around them, polishing them smooth with time. Your sadness, too, is polishing you. It is teaching you tenderness, patience, and depth. Qualities only still waters know. Now bring your awareness to your heart. Beneath the surface ache, beneath the restless thoughts, feel a quiet pulse. That rhythm is your life, still flowing. Your sadness has not stopped it. It moves through you, carrying the seeds of new understanding. In the stillness of depression, a new kind of seeing arises. You begin to notice small things again. The sound of rain, the breath of wind, the warmth of sunlight on your skin. These simple moments are not small. They are sacred threads pulling you back to life. Remember, the lotus does not bloom all at once. It unfolds slowly, petal by petal. And so will you. Every moment of presence, every breath of acceptance, every whisper of self-compassion is a petal opening. You do not have to rush your becoming. Healing is not a race, it is a rhythm. Take a slow, deep breath. Inhale, imagining the cool air moving into your heart. Exhale, letting go of the story that healing must look bright. Sometimes it looks like resting in the dark until your eyes learn to see the light again. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, "Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so the wise are not affected by praise or blame." The storm of depression may shake your thoughts, but it cannot shake your essence. That essence, your awareness, remains still, luminous, complete. So tonight, as you listen, do not fight the heaviness. Lay it down like a tired traveler sets down a burden. Whisper to your heart, it's okay to rest, because even resting is part of rising. You may not feel the bloom yet, but the roots are growing strong. And when the time is right, without effort, without struggle, you will rise, not as who you were, but as who you truly are, the lotus that found its strength in the mud. Before you drift toward sleep, place your hand on your heart and say softly, I am growing even here. I am held even in the dark. The lotus within me is already awakening. Let these words ripple through your being like moonlight on water, because one day, when you look back, you will see the darkness was never against you. It was your teacher all along, guiding you toward the light that was always within. There is a companionship that never leaves you, though you may not always recognize it. It is the quiet presence that walks with you from birth to this very moment, through every season of your being. When all voices fade, when the world grows distant, it is still there, listening, patient, kind. This companion is you, not the voice of the mind that judges or fears, not the identity you wear before others, but the silent awareness behind it all, the still witness that has never abandoned you. Tonight, let us meet that companion. Let us learn, perhaps for the first time, what it means to befriend ourselves in full presence. Close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Feel your body soften, like clay warming under sunlight. Let the tension in your shoulders, your jaw, your chest slowly melt away. There is no need to hold yourself together here. You are safe. Now, imagine you are sitting at the edge of a forest. It is dusk, the world painted in soft gold and quiet shadow. The air is cool, and every sound, the rustle of leaves, the breath of the wind feels alive, yet unhurried. Before you lies a path, narrow but inviting. You begin to walk, each step light, each breath slow. As you move, you notice someone walking beside you. There is no surprise, only recognition, as if you have been waiting for this presence all your life. You turn slightly, and though you cannot see the face clearly, you know this is your own essence, the self that has always been with you. The two of you walk together in silence. No words are needed. Every breath shared is an understanding deeper than language. This is your silent companion, the part of you that never rushes, never demands, never leaves. It was there when you laughed as a child, when you wept as an adult, when you thought no one could understand you. It watched every joy and sorrow without judgment. It has always been your truest friend. In Buddhist teachings, this awareness is called sati, mindfulness, the remembrance of your own presence. It is not something you create. It is something you return to. And when you return to it, loneliness fades because you realize you were never truly alone. Take another breath. Let the air fill you with gentleness. As you exhale, imagine placing your hand in the hand of your silent companion. Feel its warmth, familiar, grounding. No words, no explanations, only quiet companionship. You may notice emotions rising, a tender sadness, a release, a sense of homecoming. Let them come. They are only the body's way of saying, I remember. The Buddha once said, you, yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. These words are not sentiment, they are truth. The deepest love you will ever know is not found in another person's eyes, but in your own awareness meeting itself in stillness. Now breathe into your heart. Inhale peace. Exhale forgiveness. If there are parts of yourself you've rejected, old mistakes, regrets, insecurities, imagine them sitting before you like small children. Look at each one with compassion. Say softly, you too belong. And as you say it, feel how your heart expands, how the edges of shame begin to dissolve. To love oneself in this way is not arrogance. It is reverence. It is bowing to the life that breathes through you. It is honoring the journey that has carried you here. The silent companion within you asks for nothing except your listening. And when you finally listen, you realize something beautiful. The comfort you sought in others, the peace you searched for in places, was always whispering from within. Now imagine you and your silent companion sitting beneath a great tree. The ground is cool, the air still. Above you, branches sway softly against the moonlight. You close your eyes together, breathing as one. In this silence, there is no separation between the two of you. Awareness and being are the same. You have come home. In Buddhist meditation, this union is sometimes called samadhi, not escape from the world, but deep presence within it. It is the moment when all seeking stops, because the seeker and the sought are one. Peace is no longer something you chase. It becomes the space you inhabit. Stay here for a moment. Let this quiet companionship fill every corner of your awareness. You may feel warmth or spaciousness, or simply a deep calm. Whatever it is, let it be enough. Let yourself rest in this knowing. You are complete, not because the world says so, but because awareness itself is whole. Before we leave this stillness, whisper these words within. I am my own refuge. I am never alone. My silent companion walks with me always. Carry these truths into your waking life. When the world grows noisy, return here to this inner friendship, this sanctuary of stillness. Because the moment you remember your silent companion, peace returns like breath to the body. And in that peace, life becomes simple again. A walk through the forest of the heart, hand in hand with yourself, guided by the quiet light that never leaves. Everything flows. This was one of the Buddha's simplest and most profound realizations. That life is not a solid thing to be held, but a river to be lived. When we forget this, suffering begins. When we remember it, peace returns. Look around you. Even now, nothing stands still. The air moves through your lungs. The blood moves through your body. Thoughts move through your mind. Seasons turn. The moon waxes and wanes. And you too are changing quietly, constantly, beautifully. Impermanence is not a loss. It is the pulse of life itself. Without it, nothing could grow. Without change, even joy would wither into dullness. Every breath you take, every rise and fall, is life showing you that everything belongs to the flow. Close your eyes, breathe in deeply, feel that breath move through you like a wave. And as you exhale, imagine the wave returning to the ocean. It does not resist. It does not cling. It simply flows back to where it began. This is the nature of all things: birth and death, meeting and parting, gain and loss, joy and sorrow. All are movements of one great tide. There is a story told in old temples of a monk who stood by a stream for hours, watching the water move across the stones. When asked what he was doing, he replied, "Learning to let go." The water flowed effortlessly, never arguing with the rocks, never trying to hold the leaves it carried. And yet, through its very movement, it shaped the world. You are like that water. You do not need to force your path. When you flow with awareness, life moves through you naturally, shaping you in ways you cannot yet see. The Buddha said, "All conditioned things are impermanent. Strive on with diligence." He did not say this to frighten us. He said it so we would stop clinging to what must change, the youth that fades, the people who come and go, the stories that end. Clinging to the river does not stop it from flowing. It only exhausts the one who grips the shore. Now imagine your life as a great river, each moment a current, each memory a ripple. There were times you swam with ease, and times the current carried you faster than you wished. But through it all, you were moving, and that movement was your becoming. Bring to mind something you have lost, someone, something, or a version of yourself. Instead of holding it tightly, imagine placing it gently on a leaf and setting it afloat upon this river. Watch it move slowly, gracefully, naturally, until it disappears around the bend. You do not need to chase it. It is returning to the source from which all things arise. The great paradox of life is that what we fear to lose was never truly ours to begin with. It was only passing through to teach, to shape, to awaken. When we learn to bow to impermanence, we begin to live without fear. We stop clinging to joy and stop running from sorrow. We begin to trust the movement of life itself. Take another deep breath. Feel how your inhale arises, born from nothing, and how your exhale dissolves, returning to nothing. Between the two, there is a space, a stillness. That stillness is eternity. It is the space through which all things flow. In Zen practice, students are sometimes told to meditate beside flowing water, to watch the stream until they can no longer tell where it begins or ends. When awareness merges with that flow, the illusion of separation dissolves. There is no you and life. There is only living. This truth, once understood, brings immense tenderness, because when you know everything changes, you stop taking moments for granted. You hold them lightly, the laughter of a friend, the softness of evening light, the stillness of breath before sleep. You begin to live as though each moment were both the first and the last, because, in truth, it is. Impermanence is not sorrowful once you stop resisting it. It is love itself, love that allows everything to come, and love that allows everything to go. The flower does not weep when its petals fall. It knows the soil will receive them, and from that soil, new blossoms will rise. So too will you. Now, as you listen to the quiet around you, let the words drift gently through your awareness. I flow with life. I trust the change. Nothing is lost. Everything returns. Repeat them slowly, letting them ripple like calm water through your being. Notice how the body loosens, how the breath deepens, how even your thoughts begin to soften at the edges. This is what it feels like to live in harmony with impermanence, to surrender without fear, to love without demand, to breathe without grasping. Tonight, as you drift toward rest, imagine yourself as the river itself, vast, gentle, unstoppable. You carry within you the rains of your past, the streams of your present, and the ocean of your becoming. You do not need to reach the end. You only need to keep flowing with grace, with trust, with awareness. Because in truth, there is no end to the river. There is only the endless flow of all things, returning again and again to the same eternal ocean of peace. There comes a moment, after the tears, after the searching, after the stillness, when you begin to sense something subtle. It is not loud or grand. It does not announce itself. It simply glows quietly within you, like a lantern in a long-forgotten temple. This is the light that never leaves. Even in your darkest nights, it was there. Even when you felt lost, it was watching. Even when your heart broke, it remained soft, unshaken, patient. You may call it soul, awareness, Buddha nature, or simply love. But it is the same light that illuminated the Buddha beneath the Bodhi tree, the same light that breathes through you now. When you close your eyes tonight, let this be your remembrance. You were never separated from peace. You were simply looking for it in the wrong direction. The Buddha once said, "Be a light unto yourself." He did not mean you must shine perfectly or never stumble. He meant that within you already burns the wisdom, the compassion, and the clarity you've been seeking. The outer world, its joys and its sorrows, are mirrors reflecting this inner radiance back to you. When you recognize it, even for a moment, the search ends, not because the world changes, but because you begin to see it as it truly is, fleeting, beautiful, sacred. Close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath, and as you exhale, imagine every worry melting away, flowing down into the earth that holds you. Feel the weight leave your shoulders, the mind settling like snow in still air. Now draw your attention to your heart. Within it, imagine a small flame, steady, golden, peaceful. This flame has no fuel and yet never dies. It does not flicker when the winds of life blow. It only grows brighter in awareness. Let this flame fill your chest with warmth. Let it travel upward into your mind, dissolving fear. Let it move downward into your belly, grounding you in calm. Let it expand beyond your skin, a quiet light embracing the whole room, then the night beyond. You may notice memories or emotions rising, things once thought healed or forgotten. Do not turn them away. Offer them to the flame. Watch how gently it accepts everything: the joy, the pain, the longing, the loss, transforming them into light. Because nothing in you is unworthy of healing. Nothing is beyond love. In the Dhammapada, it is written, "As a lamp in the dark dispels darkness, so does understanding dispel ignorance. This understanding is not intellectual. It is felt, like sunlight touching the skin after a long winter. It is the recognition that you are not separate from life. You are life itself, not the wave, but the ocean, not the shadow, but the light behind it. Now breathe with this truth. Inhale gently through the nose, feeling the expansion of the chest. This is receiving life. Exhale softly through the mouth. This is offering life back. Receiving and offering, breathing in and breathing out. This, too, is the rhythm of the universe. You are part of that rhythm. You always were. If your heart feels heavy, let it rest now. You do not need to understand everything to be at peace. Peace is not the end of your questions. It is the stillness in which you can finally ask them without fear. Every path you have walked, every joy, every sorrow, every silence has led you here, to this very breath. And in this breath, all is complete. Now imagine standing at the edge of dawn. The night is still around you, but on the horizon, light begins to gather, soft at first, then golden. The sky brightens, not suddenly, but with patience. You realize this dawn was never outside you. It was always rising from within. You have walked through pain and found wisdom. You have sat with loneliness and found compassion. You have surrendered to change and discovered peace. Now, all that remains is to rest in the knowing that you are, and have always been, the light you sought. Whisper softly to yourself, I am light. I am whole. I am home. Let these words settle deep, where the mind cannot reach, but the soul understands. Let them echo like the slow rhythm of waves upon the shore. As you drift toward sleep, allow this awareness to cradle you. The body grows heavier, the breath slower. The thoughts fade into quiet space. You are surrounded by a vast gentleness, the same peace that lives in ancient temples, in still lakes, in the pause between heartbeats. And before you cross into dreams, remember, you do not fall into darkness, you fall into light. Because even in sleep, awareness rests like a soft flame within you, guiding you through the quiet night. So rest now, dear one. You have walked far. You have listened deeply. You have remembered what was never lost, the light that never leaves. It is here. It is you. It is home. Sleep in that knowing. Breathe in peace. Breathe out surrender. And let the universe hold you, as it always has, in love without beginning or end.